Hello everyone, welcome back to our AWS Devops CI/CD Cloud Engineer Essential series. My name is Dheerajchoudhary and today we are diving into a critical but often overlooked topic, that is S3 artifacts and how they integrate with our CI/CD pipeline. You might be thinking S3 is just a storage, right? What's there to learn extra as part of this DevOps series? Well, artifacts are the lifeblood of your pipeline. They are the actual files that flow from one stage to another. Understanding how to properly manage, version, and organize this artifact can make or break your deployment process. That is the reason we are covering this today. So let's get started. So let's start with the fundamental questions. What exactly are build artifacts? Think of CI/CD pipeline like a factory. Source code goes in from one end, and what comes out on the other end? Those are the artifacts. These are the files produced by the build process, which can be for Java application, and it might be a jar file or a var file. And for a Node.js application, it might be a zip file containing your compiled code and dependencies. For containerized application, it is going to be a Docker image. So based on the output, it can be any kind of artifact. So let's understand this from our last CI/CD pipeline that we created. So what happens? This is our source code, right? So when I run the pipeline, what code pipeline does is it is going to fetch our source code as an artifact from CodeCommit. Once it fetches that, then it is going to go ahead and push that to S3. Then suppose it is right now in S3, then when build wants to run, it is going to fetch that and then run. And once the build runs, it creates the output, and that output is again saved in the same S3, and from there again it is picked and it is used in our deploy phase. So here's the key distinction. Artifacts are not your source code. Source code is what developers write and lives in your Git repository. Artifacts are deployable packages. They are compiled, optimized, and ready to run on the server. Think of source code as ingredients and artifact as the finished product. When CodeBuild finishes building your application, the artifact is what it produces. When CodeDeploy deploys to your servers, the artifact is what it is going to deploy on your server. Now, without artifacts, your entire pipeline is going to stop. You can't deploy anything. This is why proper management of artifacts is absolutely critical. So why do we use S3 for storing artifacts? Why not just keep them on the build server itself? Let me explain why S3 is the perfect choice for us over here. First, S3 stands for Simple Storage Service, as we know, and it's AWS object storage like a massive hard drive in the cloud. S3 is incredibly durable with 11 nines of durability, as you know. That means if you store 10 million files in S3, you might lose one file every 10,000 years. So we can consider our artifacts are safe in S3 storage. Second, S3 has unlimited capacity. Store 10 artifacts or 10 million artifacts, S3 doesn't care. Third, you only pay for what you are going to actually use. No need to pre-provision a EC2 instance or no wasted capacity. Fourth, retrieval is fast. When CodeDeploy needs an artifact, it pulls from S3 in nanoseconds. Fifth, it has built-in versioning, which we will talk about shortly. And most importantly, S3 integrates seamlessly with all AWS DevOps tools that we have seen, that is CodeCommit, CodeBuild, CodeDeploy, and CodePipeline. CodeBuild automatically uploads artifact to S3. CodePipeline automatically passes that artifact through S3, and CodeDeploy pulls the artifacts from S3, and it is the central hub for your entire pipeline. This is why professional AWS CI/CD pipelines uses S3 for artifact storage. So that's what I explained you just. From here, you get an artifact, it is stored in S3, then it picks from this S3 again and runs the build, then creates a new artifact. And once that artifact is created, it is passed to deploy. So whenever you create a pipeline, you must notice that there is a S3 bucket automatically created by default, or you can give your own S3 bucket also. Now, this is the S3 bucket which got created with our code pipeline. And now if I open this, see, you can see the build artifact and the source artifact. What would be the source artifact? This is our source artifact from where it took it and saved it over here. So once it took it and saved it over here, so from here, this build artifact was pulled for the code build. So once code build ran it and created a new artifact, then that artifact was stored in build artifact within the build folder. So this is how it fetches the artifact from source, stores it to S3, then again uh, build picks that artifact and uh, push back its new generated artifact to the same S3 bucket. And this is how this journey goes along. Now let me walk you through the complete journey of an artifact through your pipeline. So we will just check it once again, one by one. So it all starts with your source code in CodeCommit, which is this. It will start with the source code with CodeCommit. Then when a developer pushes the code pipeline is going to detect this change and it is going to trigger the code build. How you will understand that the code pipeline has actually triggered the build? If you go uh, into the triggers over here, see this is the trigger is which got created. So this is my code pipeline, code pipeline event bridge. So it triggers when I am going to make any changes to my master branch. And whenever our execution is done, at that time you can understand whether it has been done manually. So see, these two I have done manually by doing release change. That's why it is showing root. But when it is triggered by making the changes, it is done by the event bridge. So that's why I said when a developer pushes code pipeline detects this change and triggers a code build. So code build pulls the source code, compiles it, runs the test and create an artifact. So let's say a zip file containing your application as we saw in our S3 bucket. So here's where S3 comes in. Code builds automatically uploads this artifact to the designated S3 bucket. It doesn't just dump it randomly. It stores it with metadata like build ID and timestamp. So if we go over here and this is our build artifact. So if you can see, it stores it with metadata. So if I store it, it has some metadata which has been added as part of the specific build, and it also has the version. So next time if the build runs again and it is creating a new artifact, at that time it is going to be version 2. We will check that in detail in our upcoming slide. Then code pipeline registers exactly where this artifact is in S3. And when the next stage, that is the deployment stage starts, code pipeline tells code deploy, hey, where is the artifact? You need it as in S3 at a specific location. So code deploy then downloads the artifact from the artifact, that is S3, and deploys it to your EC2 instance. So notice how S3 acts as a bridge between build and deploy stages. So the artifact moves from code commit to code build, then code build to S3, then from S3 to code deploy. So S3 is the central storage layer that enables this flow. Without it, how would you use code deploy to get the files that code build has already created as part of our last stage? And this is why S3 is essential to the pipeline. Now, let's talk about one of the S3's most powerful feature of CI/CD, versioning. When you enable versioning on S3 bucket, S3 keeps every single version of every file you have uploaded as part of your CI/CD process. Here's how it works. You upload a file called, for example, myapp zip to S3. So S3 stores it and assign it a unique version ID. Later on, CodeBuild is going to run again and upload a new one and the same file name but the newer code. So every time a new file is going to get created, it will be created with the new version ID. Okay, then S3 doesn't overload the old file. Instead, it creates a new version with a different version ID each time uh, a code build is going to create an artifact for you. So both versions exist in the S3 forever unless you explicitly delete them. Why this is powerful? Imagine you deploy version 50 of your application and it is going to break your production server. With versioning, you can instantly retrieve the previous version, that would be version number 49 from S3, and you can redeploy it and your application will be up and running once again. So you don't need to rebuild from the old code. So the working artifact is still existing in your S3 as part of your previous version. You can use that. And this is crucial for fast rollbacks. And yes, versioning uses more storage because you are keeping multiple versions. So it is going to cost slightly more. But for production system, this is non-negotiable. The ability to instantly roll back to any previous version is worth every penny. Otherwise, it impacts your business application. Now let's talk about the best practices for naming and organizing your artifacts in S3. And this might be some trivial, but trust me, good organization saves massive headaches later by implementing this strategy. So first, use descriptive and consistent naming patterns. Include the project name, version number, timestamp, and the build number in your artifact names. For example, over here you can see the artifact. What I have done, I have given the project name, then I have given the version number, then I have given the timestamp, and then I have given the build number in the artifact name. So this is how you can name it as part of the best practice. Second is organize artifacts into folders in S3. Maybe you already have a folder structure like our code pipeline created, but you can reorganize it. So over here, what it is saying, we can keep our artifacts, my app production for production builds, and we can do my app staging for the staging builds. So we can separate it by the environment as well as by the date itself if we are using the same S3 bucket for all different three environments. Third, consider using separate S3 buckets for different environments. One bucket for production artifact, another for development. So this is critical because we should never reuse the same artifact file name. Always make each artifact unique. Why? Because if something goes wrong, you can trace exactly which build has caused the issue for you. Imagine investigating a production bug and you see 5 files all named app.zip. Which one is which, we don't understand at that moment. But if they are named with the timestamp and build numbers, as I just showed you in our best practice, so during that time, you know exactly which build to investigate, the latest one, right? So good naming and organization makes tracing, troubleshooting, and auditing infinitely easy for you. So here's a problem you will face as your pipeline runs hundreds or thousands of build, because your S3 buckets fills up with old artifact. So do you really need an artifact from a build which is 6 months old? I am sure probably not. So this is where S3 lifecycle policy comes into picture. So what happens? They automatically manage your old artifacts for you. You create rules that say things like delete any artifact older than 90 days or move artifact older than 30 days to Glacier. So Glacier is cheap long-term storage compared to the default storage that you take for S3 bucket. And here is the common setup. So keep artifacts from the last 30 days in standard S3 for fast access, then move those artifacts between 30 to 90 days old to the Glacier, which you probably won't need again, but keep them just in case of any emergency. Then delete the artifacts older than 90 days completely. If you haven't need them in 3 months itself, you will never use them after 90 days itself. So you can even create rules like always keep the latest 10 version no matter how old it is. Let me show you. So how you achieve this, what I am saying right now is, suppose right now you are in your code pipeline, what you will have to do is click on management and click on create lifecycle. When you click on create lifecycle, you will land up onto this page. So what over here I have done, 30 days to Glacier. That means after 30 days, it is going to push my files which has been created to the Glacier storage. So I have selected the lifecycle rule action as transition non-current versions of object between storage classes. So currently my version of, if I see, go to properties, and if you see bucket, you might see what is the metadata for your bucket or the properties. In that, you can understand at which management layer it is right now. Based on that, you can decide. So right now what I'm doing is I am saying after 30 days, move it to Glacier flexible retrieval because I might need it. So what I have done, after 30 days, it has lowered the class. So you can see n number of classes. So by default, it comes into standard IA, but you can use another tiers also. So what I'm doing first, I am going to go ahead and push that in Glacier where I can retrieve it. Then uh, after 30 days. So after 30 days, it goes over here and it is going to stay over there for the remaining period. So over here, I have mentioned 180 days. So after 180, it will go to Glacier Deep Archive. So that is how I'm keeping it. But if you want, you can change the rule and say permanently delete non-current versions, in which you can say that after 30 days, go ahead and delete that for you. Now, the another version option over here is, suppose if I say 30 days, within 30 days, you have to go ahead and push them to Glacier, but it will ask you how many newer version you want to retain. So I would say that at least I would need the past 5 versions, because if I have to roll back, I can roll back between those 5, or it can be 10 also for you based on your company requirements. You can configure, and that is how it is going to create your life cycle. It says objects become non-current. Then after 30 days, 5 newest non-current versions are retained and all other non-current versions move to Glacier. Then after 180 days, it says none of the concurrent versions are going to be non-current versions are going to be retained, and everything is going to be pushed to Glacier Deep Archive. And that is how you use automatic artifact cleanup based on your company's roadmap or requirement. So for a busy pipeline, creating artifacts daily, lifecycle policies can actually reduce storage cost by 70 to 80% when you transition this storage type of S3 bucket. So thank you so much for watching this deep dive into S3 buckets and pipeline integration. If you enjoyed this video and want to keep learning step by step, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss the upcoming tutorials. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.